Comparison price for Thursday, August 20th, 2026. Presentation of Bet365 at Bet365. Boring games, a thing of the past. Now, there's always a reason to tune in, even if the score isn't one of them. Download the app today. Must be 19 plus. Please play responsibly. Matt Segaris alongside Blake Price. Four-time Juno Award winner Mike Rogers and hitting switches and conducting things. We got a big show planned for you, and a reminder, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Ditto for those of you listening on podcasts, and as always, we appreciate the likes. How are you?
I am doing well, yeah.
Calling a lot of MLS games, calling a lot of Caps games this week, Blake Price.
Yes. Hopefully they provide some throws. I thought the kits looked pretty damn good last night. The blue and yellow, I don't know that I need them every time, but it was nice. And shout out to all the 86ers that were in attendance, including my partner, Paul Dolan, who was goalkeeper in year 2 of the franchise. Goalkeeper in year 1 won the game yesterday, Pat Onstead, the architect of the Houston Dynamos. So that was a fun little story.
Yeah, it was. Nice to see Canadians moving up in the world of soccer management as well. Might say the jerseys were the best part about the Caps last night. More on their performance later in the program. Busy week at BC Place. You have the Caps on Saturday, right back at it against another Texas team. And, of course, you have the Lions at it against the Rough Riders, the big watermelon smash game Sunday. I will be going to that one, family in tow, so we are very much looking forward.
The quest for 500 perhaps is achieved then.
3 in a row, baby. One more win gets them back to 500 after 10 games of this Canadian Football League season. Let's get on to our Nation Gear poll question, which surrounds the Vancouver Canucks, as it often does. Who will author the best comeback story this season? You can vote for Thatcher Demko. You can vote for Jonathan Lekramaki. You can vote for Elias Pettersson. You can vote other, and if you do, we would ask you to specify in reply. No shortage of candidates. I mean, Philip Hedl, I think, would be the comeback story of all comeback stories.
In the league, perhaps.
Well, when you look at how often he has been injured and how many concussions, and, of course, that freak injury last year at UBC where the puck comes off and hits him. I mean, of all the guys for the puck to take a bounce and hit in the face like Philip Hedl. Goodness gracious.
Now, we typed out Elias Pettersson thinking EP40.
Right.
You could.
Yeah, it was a step-back season for him.
Yeah, you could say the DPD needs to come back as well, but let's face it, less grave for him to not, so we meant the forward.
Yes. I think Brendan Gallagher qualifies here too, right? Remember, towards the end with the Montreal Canadiens was more often than not a healthy scratch. I think you could also vote Atu Ratu here, Blake, because it was a step-back season for him, much
Looked
like
better at the very end of the season.
DPD,
but
But we were really excited at this time last year because, of course, he had closed the previous season so strong, and there were many at this time last year thinking the Canucks had found their third-line center going forward.
That was coaching, though. Yeah, Adam Foote did not put him in many positions to succeed. Let's hope.
Honestly, you can vote for Kevin Lankinen as well. I mean, it was just a ghastly season from the goaltender last year. Now, granted, there was a lot of things going poorly in front of him, but we know Kevin Lankinen is better than what he showed last year because we saw it the previous season. Of course, he earned that big contract, and I think he will also be better for no Adam Foote system. I saw Dom Luszczyszyn's model expects some progress or improvement from the Canucks just on the coaching change alone, and I think that's probably fair. Now, whether that gets them out of the basement of the National Hockey League is
And on resume, the defense is way better, I think, way more stout defensively with Alexiak and losing my mind.
Shen.
Shen, thank you, Luke Shen. But those guys are older. This could be the major drop-off year for one or both of those players. They may not be as useful as they have been in their careers.
Honestly, in a perfect world, I think Luke Shen is your seventh defenseman because I think Victor Mancini nails down that third spot on the right-hand side behind Philip Roenick and Tom Villander. That would be the best case scenario for the organization. And I do think he's got a 2-year contract, but I do think you're getting to make or break time for Victor Mancini with his age and the opportunities that he has already had. I'm going off the board and voting Lankinen here, Blake, and I'm voting Lankinen because of what we said. I think he's going to benefit from the coaching change. I think he's a better goaltender than what he showed. I imagine he's motivated. Kevin Lankinen has shown himself to be just an impeccable professional in his couple of years here in Vancouver. Remember, he had a family matter last year. He needed to take leave from the team. And I think he's going to get a ton of opportunity because, we don't know about Thatcher Demko, his health, and how many games he's going to play. But also, Nikita Tolopilo is a decent-looking prospect, but I'm not sure he's quite at a level yet where he's going to steal away starts from Lankinen if Lankinen proves himself capable early in the season. So give me Lankinen on the poll.
I'm going to go Demko just because the guy's barely played hockey, and I know people could say, well, that's a bad thing, and it is. But I think this is his best chance to truly start from scratch again and get some runway. And I've got more faith in him coming back from his health issues than I do in Lekkerimäki, who's never done it. And I don't suspect that Elias Pettersson will magically, even though early voting, and we're going to let this percolate for a few days here, but Elias Pettersson has got the bulk of the votes here in the early going here. Hoping upon all hopes, I get it, but my goodness. I think Brendan Gallagher getting 15, 18 goals is very possible, and to me, that's a comeback for him. So.
Yep. Let's go to the trophy guy in the producer's booth, world log rolling champion, 2-time provincial basketball champion, Mike Rogerson. You're a big Canucks fan. Where are you going here?
I'm going to go EP40. 2 reasons.
Explain yourself.
Well, I can't afford to burn all the merch I have of his.
It's a big hope.
But also, literally, how could you be worse, right? 70 points is a massive comeback for him.
It is.
So,
yeah.
Right?
70 points would be a big comeback.
And, of course, he's a very good defensive center.
He is. He's excellent. I think, I'm going to go EP40.
All right. Cast your vote at the Sekerson Price X and YouTube channels. You've heard of the Perfect 9 challenge. 9 innings, 9 hot dogs, 9 beers. It's quite an undertaking.
It is. Valiant.
And look.
Heroic.
We're not saying you have to complete it, but you can look really good as you try. The Nation Network has teamed up with Levelware to launch the Perfect 9 collection, a limited edition lineup inspired by one of baseball's legendary game day traditions. This isn't your average merch either. Premium fabrics, modern fits, gear you'll actually wear long after baseball season ends, whether you're heading to the ballpark, catching the game on the patio, just want everyone to know you're a serious student of baseball culture. The Perfect 9 collection has you covered. It's only available for a limited time. Grab yours before it's gone at nationgear.ca. And if you do attempt the challenge, well, we would like some video. We would like some evidence.
Unless you look like the famed puking guy meme, then we don't want to see that evidence. No.
If you're a contestant in the Nathan's hot dog eating contest, then you got this, right? It's just about the beer.
I don't know if I want to see that video either. It's tough to watch sometimes.
Let's get to our top story. It's brought to you by Yellow Dog Brewing, Neighborhood Brewing, Yellow Dog Spirits, and Foolish Winery. Sports Talk Radio in Vancouver. Not dead yet. Stories yesterday from Patrick Johnston of The Province and Rob Williams of the Daily Hive reporting that Canucks games will now be heard on Rogers-owned Kiss FM, not Jack FM. With pre- and post-game shows, the games will continue to be called by the tandem of Brendan Batchelor and Randeep Janda, who had been calling the games for Sportsnet 650. There's still an unnamed host that's going to be a part of the broadcast, doing pre, post, and intermissions. And while that in and of itself was news, because the prevailing wisdom was the games were going to go on Jack FM, here's the thing. Jack FM does pretty well as FM stations go. Kiss doesn't do as well. So Rogers has an interest in putting the games on the station where they have less listenership, less economics at play than on Jack. Don't want to mess with Jack. So going to put them on KISS. So that was news in and of itself. But then came this stunner from Jonas Siegel of the Toronto sports media blog, the Toronto Star columnist. Sources tell me what could happen is KISS FM could morph into an all-sports radio station under pressure from the Canucks themselves or under pressure of a competitive all-sports station. Now, one of the things that we mentioned to you 6 weeks ago when 650 was shuttered by Rogers is that we know people who are familiar with the language in these broadcast contracts between teams and media companies. And typically, the language specifies that the games have to be heard on a certain frequency. You can't just move it around in your radio or TV empire. You have to put them on specific stations. That's what the contract secures. So when Rogers closes 650, I think you're relatively safe to assume that's breach of contract, right? And so the Canucks have some influence there in terms of how we're going to make this right. So we've been telling you for some time, and the Canucks have been awfully quiet about it, right? The club has some leverage. Heck, there was even talk the Canucks have an equity stake that the Aquilini's may have had an equity stake in 650 when it started up in 2017. And they have the ability to exert some influence here.
It should be noted that, of course, all this happened in Calgary as well, and the Calgary rights went back up for sale.
And wound up with a Chorus station.
Yeah, so, there was a different model used in Calgary that ultimately paid out here, and that may have been the Flames pressure versus the Canucks pressure being different.
Yeah. And we had talked about that here in Vancouver as well. Well, would the Canucks have an interest in going back to CKNW, an ancestral home, also a Chorus station, because there is no longer sports talk radio?
A ton more chorus cuts today as well. Unbelievable. That never stops.
So basically, could this be the Canucks forcing Rogers into an all-sports format, if not immediately, then over time, for the sake of promotion? Because as much as from time to time Canucks owners and managers have have been wont to complain about what they've heard on sports talk radio, the fact of the matter is, if you're doing a full programming day on terrestrial radio, that should serve as 12-hour promotion for the local hockey team, right? You're in the daily, hourly conversation each and every day of the calendar. We'll see. Now, there's layers and texture to this story as well that we need to get into. Rogers wanted to turn Sportsnet 650 and News 1130, which they also shuttered, into FMs. They petitioned the CRTC to do that and were denied. So if Rogers is going to turn KISS FM into an all sports, is that basically an end around the ruling that they got from the CRTC? You're changing formats on an existing FM after you were denied the ability to take your sports talk and turn it into an FM.
And they do, I believe they still have to apply for format change as well, but that's more lenient, I think, than actually changing the frequency. But I mean, you're changing the format. I mean, that's what you're entitled to do that.
So the possibilities here, one, have the Canucks scream bloody murder here and are doing everything they can to pressure Rogers into reviving the all sports format. Two, is Rogers doing this on their own accord, just with what their one-time wish was, putting sports talk on an FM and changing the format of KISS? And then there's the third possibility here, that Rogers could be hearing rumblings about others wanting to start an all-sports station in Vancouver and trying to cut that off at the pass by anonymously musing to people like Jonas Siegel about bringing back all sports on KISS in time. That basically you try and intimidate other radio operators from opening a sports talk and taking advantage of the ground that you ceded by saying, no, we have plans for a sports talk down the road. And I can tell you that there are efforts, I'm aware of 2 of them, to revive sports talk radio in Vancouver that have nothing to do with Rogers.
And this is my point here, Matt. One thing I can tell you definitively, neither Rogers nor the Canucks on the business sides enjoy spending money. And I think there's undoubtedly a push from the Canucks to have something serve them that they don't have to spend money on. We've already seen this with the practice facility, right? They want agreements. They want deals. They don't want to actually cut checks. And I think the same bodes true here for them being behind all sports radio. They just want the benefit of it. They don't want to actually do it. Rogers has now come to that point as well. They don't want to actually spend money on anything. So I have a real big problem believing that they want to now
the one thing
get back into it and sacrifice, again, the radio as a whole only has X number of years left in it. You're sacrificing 1 or 2 of those to satisfy this frequency split and losing personnel in the process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It would be very strange. Would be very strange.
Honestly, and you and I were talking about this yesterday. If in fact it is true that Rogers wants to turn KISS into a sports talk, and this is a Rogers idea, independent of the Vancouver Canucks exerting pressure, I would love to have been a fly on the wall of that boardroom pitch, right? You walk in there before a bunch of Rogers execs and say, look, guys, I know 6 weeks ago we just shuttered a sports talk. We handed the license back to the CRTC. We laid off a bunch of people. We got a whole province upset with us. We took the PR hit. But let's start a sports talk on FM. Like, you could have just picked it up and moved it. Yes. There was a more orderly way to do this.
Yeah.
That's what makes me hedge on the side of, I think they're okay with this being messaged in the back channels to try and keep other operators out of the space, Blake. That's what makes me, because I cannot imagine you've got many people who would have the temerity to say, look, I know we just did this 6 weeks ago, but hey, how about we do sports talk again, only on FM? Now, again, they were trying to turn those AMs into FMs, including 650. So there was a pre-existing appetite for that at Rogers. You would have thought that the ship had sailed after they shuttered 650, but maybe there were still remnants, vestiges of that plan still alive and well.
But if the priority was to keep an all-sports station alive, you would have flipped the format back then. You wouldn't have had gap years in between and having to get things all up and going again.
Because it would be very tough to get it going in what's left of the off-season. You're looking at 5 weeks here.
Yeah. The other thing is, we've talked about this. We're sort of applying 90s aughts level interest in radio rights to this conversation, and it's just not there anymore. People do not, for the most part, listen to the game on radio anymore. If you are mobile, people will often just put the app on with the audio of the app in their car, listening to Shorty's call, or the other people
watching on the screen.
Your passengers are watching on the screen, and you're listening to the passengers watching while you drive. It's just, it's a very limited audience, and to move heaven and earth and change business models to placate that demand.
Yeah.
Don't see it.
Now, just getting back to your point where the Canucks want this, they just don't want to pay for it. There have been rumors over the last few years that the Canucks were looking at starting their own media company, if you will, their own podcast network, if you will. Heard it a lot when Chris Faber moved on over there several years ago, leaving his gig here with David Quadrelli on Canucks Conversation, or DFO Vancouver, if you missed that news. So there are remnants of the notion that the Canucks would want to start up with their own media silo. Now, in the case of Faber and what's happened there, I mean, well, he's one person, basically. But you go way back in the day to the early days of team content on websites. Kevin Kinghorn, a total unsung hero for Canucks sports entertainment back in the days, an understated guy. He didn't want to, take a lot of bows or anything like that. But the Vancouver Canucks and Canucks.com were an absolute leader in that space. That Kevin Kinghorn and his team, of course, you remember Derek Jory and some of the people who passed through the Canucks in-house media, they did an extraordinary job. Mike Hall was there, and Mike with all his broadcasting experience. They had an extraordinary team of people who were league leaders in terms of in-house media content and what was going on in Canucks.com. Canucks.com was far and away the most popular team website when the Canucks were in their heyday, and a lot of the credit goes to Kevin Kinghorn and Mike Hall and the group that sort of structured a mini media team within the walls of Rogers Arena that the market responded to in a massive way. So I'm not 100. There's a school of thought that every professional sports team right now should effectively think of itself as a media and content company over any other pursuit, because that's effectively what they are, and especially with the way that media and distribution channels have changed over time here, Blake. So I don't think it's completely out of the realm of the possibility that the Canucks want to do something at some point and will make an investment in it. It's just take a look at their investments these days, and it seems like they're spending money on things that are need to do, not nice to do.
I would guess that they don't make that leap until the next availability of the TV rights presents itself, because
that's a ways though, because that was a very long extension they signed with.
No, that's the thing. But I don't think you can jump into the media fray with both feet unless you're talking about video rights, because I think we're already seeing it. Baseball, MLS, potentially at the end of the Apple deal, could venture back into a club-controlled scenario for rights.
Baseball's trying to centralize all the rights.
Yeah.
Blake. Yeah. Major League Baseball wants to not only centralize all the rights and basically be the producer and distributor of regional telecasts, but there's even a school of thought, Blake, that they're going to centralize those revenues a little more equitably than they have in the past, whereby you have the Yankees and you have the Dodgers and you have the Red Sox, these teams that reap massive rights for their local television,
but don't be surprised,
and at one point radio, that are going to pool the money and distribute it a little bit more on an NFL model. This is one of the underpinnings, one of the things that a Vancouver MLB franchise would pivot on, right?
Well, you could be going to Mariners.com in the not too distant future to watch your Mariners games.
Right.
Or the Mariners app.
Or MLB.
I think they'll be concurrent with MLB. You could go either or, but the point is that's your cornerstone. Just having content. I mean, they're kind of doing that now. I don't think that's a drastic change. You can make it better content. The Canucks can, but unless you've got the cornerstone, the main thing, the main draw to bring people in, is the game itself. And until they've got that going, don't think it's worth it.
And, of course, post-game is a destination as well, as we know very well with Rink-Wide Vancouver. And J-Pat and the team there have turned that into an absolute behemoth on the streaming side. We still know that there is a massive appetite for that immediate post-game reaction and dissection of games.
And the problem, again, from the club's perspective is, particularly this club's perspective, you can't really do a true post-game show with this ownership on this club website, because after a 5-1 loss, do you want to tune in to how everything was really good for the Vancouver Canucks in the 5-1 loss?
Yeah, you've got to tell the whole story.
And they will not.
And to their credit, I thought the hosts and shows on 650 did a very good job of telling the whole story during some difficult times.
Ironically,
and
they got
I
better.
commend Canberra and some of the managers there for keeping those hosts in bomb shelters and giving them the editorial license to say what they said about the Vancouver Canucks. Because let's face it was a freaking gong show.
I didn't think it was there early on, Matt, but it got better. It got to that point.
They didn't have Halford and Bruff early on either,
yes.
Right? So when they joined, that changed the equation. And like you're not going to be able to micromanage a post-game show, as you say, after a 5-1 loss in a smart hockey market like Vancouver and British Columbia, which knows what happened and what didn't happen for the home team that night. Like they have sort of curated that Canucks insider and some of the in-house media they're doing now, which tends to be inoffensive, non-controversial, and not exactly digging into the deeper recesses of the club.
And there are some organizations that are able to walk that fine line.
Absolutely. There's a number.
This isn't one of them.
We're looking at one, the Blue Jays. We got the Blue Jays game on television here. I mean, I listen to Blair and Barker some days, and the way they're hammering on the Blue Jays on a Sportsnet Rogers own station, but, hey, they have with good right, when the Blue Jays haven't played well this year.
But
a lot of the Rogers and Sportsnet reporters have said as much, and analysts have said as much, and have pointed out what has gone wrong.
But baseball, as we have said countless times, Matt, is a very different sport in this because it's based on failure. The best in the business fail 70% of the time at what they're trying to do. And so pointing out those failures, it's not verboten. It's baked in to the sport,
And you mentioned it already, Blake. All this is happening now in an environment with even more cuts. Chorus announces yesterday they'll be laying people off at Global BC, Global National. News 640 is a Toronto station, talk radio. Don't know if NW will be affected here, but needless to say, Blake and I have many friends, colleagues at those outlets, and we've got our fingers crossed and are wishing the best for them. I've got to say, when I moved here from back east, I was not that big a global watcher.
Doesn't have a foothold like it does here.
That has changed in a significant way. I think the global news operation here in Vancouver does a magnificent job of covering our community. Carmen and I watch them often in the mornings, especially the weekend morning show. I love watching our boy Janauer on the weekends. Anyways, we'll see where all of this goes. But bottom line, it looks like there is, well, it doesn't look like. Blake and I are aware of 2 efforts that are afoot to revive sports talk radio in Vancouver, and there may be a third if Rogers pivots back to an all-sports format 6 weeks after shuttering AM 650.
By the way, I got a note from, speaking of global news, Bhupinder Hundal, the news director and station manager there, sent me a note after we had our talk about Hockey Night in Punjabi going down.
Yes.
And gave me some more color around that and how the title sponsor covered everything there. Like it was not a money-losing proposition. And the ratings don't even get measured in the same way that English language gets measured. So like you couldn't even point to poor ratings and say that was the problem. Like
it was a smaller audience, to be sure, because only so many people can understand. That stands to reason. Again, the question was, if you're going to have a CRTC license, if you're going to ask the feds to approve your mergers with Shaw, if you're going to take money from the journalism fund, then what is your responsibility?
But they weren't lining in the coffers with it, but they weren't losing money on it either. So again, the reasons behind these decisions, God only knows sometimes. And our thoughts with all the people in media that are constantly being left on the side of the road.
And the audiences who have a craving for this content. And I mean, we're going to do a third episode again this week, everybody. We did this a couple of weeks ago. Typically we're down to 2 shows a week at this point of the summer, but we've heard you. I mean, everywhere I go is, man, we need more episodes. We need more content. We don't have sports talk radio to listen to. I'm lost when I get in the car. What do I listen to? So we're going to have a third episode this week, publishing on Saturday.
And don't worry. When you are back into the swing of things in September, so will we, and you'll have all the content that you need. The Ultimate Clubhouse Classic just got a major glow up. The Shazam Transfusion from Yellow Dog Spirits is your go-to for post-round hangs, mid-round swings, or just pretending you're on the back nine. Packed with juicy grape, zesty lime, and a little hint of ginger. It's a crisp, bubbly take on the golf course cocktail we all know and love. The Shazam Transfusion from Yellow Dog Spirits.
The fair starts Saturday with that new Freedom Mobile Arch concert venue, a legacy of the World Cup. Some good-looking shows coming up.
Blue Rodeo on Saturday.
I absolutely love Blue Rodeo. What I love about Blue Rodeo is that they bring together generations of Canadians. We had Jim Cuddy on the show years ago.
My kids are into it now.
No, yeah, I know. Yeah. And Jim said, he was like, we had the audience that grew up with us. Then at a certain point, they started bringing their kids. And now we're at the point where it might be they're bringing their grandkids, but they're a multi-generational act going to one of their shows.
Jim, can you postpone your first song till 10:30? Because I need to do the Whitecaps match, and I'm going to need to get – it's a 6:30 game. It's going to be close. Jim, could you postpone first song?
You got to close with try, Jim. This is what I'm hearing here.
I'd love to be able to make it over.
Guess Who, Sarah McLachlan, The Beaches, they're fun. But what is to become of sports on the P&E grounds after the closure of Hastings Park? Horse racing late last year, of course, the Vancouver Golden Eyes of the PWHL play out of the Pacific Coliseum and practice out of a revamped Agrodome. Kareem Allam is a candidate for Vancouver mayor under the Vancouver Liberal Party banner in October. And if you're sitting there going, boy, things have gotten really quiet with the Whitecaps and the Hastings Park Memorandum of Understanding they signed with the city, well, probably with good reason. Now, Mr. Allam has long been an opponent of the Caps at Hastings Park, and not because he doesn't want to find a solution for the Caps, but because he doesn't believe it is a viable place to build a stadium. Mr. Allam tweeting yesterday, if I get a call from the Whitecaps saying you can save the team by having it at Hastings, then I'm not opposed to that, but I'm very skeptical that the site can work. And he goes on to talk about the electrical grid capacity to supply that part of Vancouver with power that's needed for a stadium and entertainment district. And he's talked about if the city wants to build a large entertainment hub that far out of the downtown core, it needs high-speed rail access, which, of course, it does not. And he laid out his vision for Hastings Park, talking about how it could be East Vancouver Stanley Park with a renaturalized park setting that could include pathways north to the waterfront, public fields to support amateur sports like soccer.
And I think he pointed out the Richmond night market as a better, more viable alternative. Richmond night market coming to an end this year because of the want to develop that site that held it.
But they are looking for other sites, and the Richmond night market used to be somewhere else as well. I do believe there's some solutions afoot there.
But the current one is not bad, and it is serviced by SkyTrain and all that sort of stuff. So that would be an option.
Yeah. And the other development that affects, well, the Golden Eyes there at Hastings. Boy, is this a story with Mark Walter, the owner of the Los Angeles Dodgers, the owner of the Los Angeles Lakers, of Chelsea FC, and of the PWHL at large. He is the main financial backer of the league. Now, this is Ian Kennedy of the Hockey News reporting that despite Walter's rapid and distressed sales of the Lakers and Chelsea, the PWHL confirmed to him that there is, quote, absolutely no expected change of ownership of the PWHL. Now, it would be down the list, needless to say, in terms of the more valuable sports properties.
He's looking to liquidate
by
that's
Mr. Walter.
That's not a lot of dollars.
Needless to say, the Lakers at a $12 billion price point, and Chelsea, one of the behemoths of English football, are much, much bigger pieces of his sports empire pie. But others in the U.S. aren't as sure as the reporting from Kennedy, or at least the statement that the PWHL gave him. This is Joe Pompliano, who's an excellent follow on Twitter, particularly on Sports Business Stories. He says, Walter, and if you're not familiar with the story, Walter owns an asset management firm and insurance companies. He used premiums at his insurance companies to make loans to the companies he owns. This is usually okay, but you can't do it too often and you have to disclose it. Walter did it a lot and he didn't disclose it. Now he's trying to unwind those deals and pay back the loans because the Department of Justice is investigating him. So that's why he sells the Lakers. That's why he sells Chelsea FC. He's trying to raise money privately as well. And Pompliano says it's tough to tell what will happen, but I think every option is on the table, including selling the Dodgers, Chelsea, Sparks, that's the WNBA team, PWHL, his motorsport investments across NASCAR, IndyCar, and F1. And if you haven't followed this story, basically Walter loaned money to himself to be able to finance this exorbitant payroll of the LA Dodgers. People are now starting to say that the Dodgers are fraudulent because this may have been done illegally by Walter to be able to juice the payroll like they have juiced that payroll over the last couple of years. There's also a lot of talk about the complicity of Major League Baseball media, many of whom were like, any team can do this. They just have more appetite. They're taking more risks, spending more money. Why don't the Pirates try? Why don't the other small spenders try? Well, that is needless to say looking like a very cold take these days when you look at where Walter was getting his money. The thing that is most unfortunate here from a PWHL point of view, Blake, the championship is called the Walter Cup.
Yeah, they may want to change that. Anyway, just preemptively, even if he's going to hold on to it for another year or so, I would preemptively change that. Incidentally, that Lakers sale getting so ugly, tearing the Bus family apart.
Yeah, the Bus family, if you're not familiar, these are the children of longtime Lakers owner Dr. Jerry Buss.
6 kids, Jeannie
doesn't want to sell, the others want to sell. There are clauses in those contracts that they are not able to pass their ownership stake off to their heirs, only to the last surviving sibling. It's getting very messy there.
Oof.
Plus, the other thing is Kushner, not Jared, but his brother and Bob Iger, the former head of Disney. People are looking into that and saying, those guys don't have $12 billion. So they believe there's Middle East money involved in that as well.
Yeah, Kushner, don't say.
So look, this could get very, very messy for the Dodgers, for the Lakers, for the PWHL, and elsewhere. But here's what I'll say. If it all winds up well for the PWHL and the Golden Knights do continue to play at Pacific Coliseum, that northwest corner of the PNE grounds, can that be developed? Put a rink in there, City of Vancouver, in partnership with the Canucks for a practice facility and for the Golden Knights to improve their practice facility. This is, of course, what those minor hockey associations that use Britannia and say, look, one sheet of ice at Britannia, and now we got to give some to the Canucks. Not going to work. They have recommended building a facility on the PNE grounds, that northwest corner, right by the Pacific Coliseum.
There is a ton of space there because, again, you can do a parkade below or above rinks for PW, like to service the Coliseum and the PNE and elsewhere. Like, it can be built efficiently. It's a no-brainer. Like they shouldn't put 2 rinks there, Matt. They should put 4. They should put 6 rinks there and then be done. Like, probably forevermore. Because you put a bunch of rinks there, you're servicing Burnaby, you're servicing the North Shore, you're even servicing Coquitlam to some degree. It's pretty easy to drive down the highway and jump off at Hastings. And of course, you're servicing the city of Vancouver. Like, that is a perfect spot. Not for necessarily 30,000 people to descend all the time, but the comings and goings of a rink where you're just, it's a constant turnover of people. Yeah. Brilliant. It's brilliant.
We knew that it was going to be difficult for the Anaheim Ducks to keep their team together after matching the Leo Carlsson offer sheet, the gigantic Leo Carlsson offer sheet with the Philadelphia Flyers. Well, it would appear that some of the waterfowl are coming home to roost, Blake. Reporting yesterday that Cutter Gauthier, restricted free agent, goal-scoring winger for the Ducks, was offered $13 million on a 4-year term and that it was rejected. As the report here from Paul Shaheen points out, the Ducks are just over $9 million in cap space. Suffice to say, if when Gauthier signs, the Ducks will have to be creative to be at the cap come the start of the season. And I got to hand it, Henry Samueli and the family that owns the Ducks have long been a budget team. They have never been a cap team, really. They're willing to spend. They're building a beautiful new facility there. They've been willing to spend, But it may be that Pat Verbeek has overspent, Blake, and now people are talking about players who could shake free on the Ducks, including Alex Killorn, who's in the final year of his deal, Frank Vetrano, who's got a couple years left on his deal, Chris Kreider, who's got 1 year left on his deal. All of them are in the $4.5 to $6.5 million salary range, and it may even be that the Ducks have to pay somebody to take one of these players off their hands. We've talked about it. Cap's going up. You're going to see very few, comparatively speaking, trades where a team has to pay assets, draft picks to get a bad contract off their hands. But this could be one of the last ones. Sapster weighing in here on X saying would love the Canucks to take advantage of this. Figure out how to get Killorn along with second and third round picks, then flip Killorn at 50% retention elsewhere to avoid adding too much to the payroll. Just feels like a situation ripe for the taking. They would have to wait a given amount of time to flip Killorn at retention. There are new rules with regards to retention on side. There's no double retention. No. So if the Ducks retain, the Canucks would have to hold Killorn for pretty much half the season. But yeah, taking on a player like Killorn, like Vetrano, like Kreider, flipping them at the deadline for additional assets, particularly if you get additional assets on the front end.
Now, if people are listening to this story going, but all this for Cutter Gauthier, he's played 2 years in the league.
Yeah, but how many goals did he have last year? 30-something?
That's what I was going to ask you. Without looking, what do you think he scored last year?
I think it was a lot, like 38?
41 goals last year in 76 games. He was almost he was .91 points per game.
No, he's a terrific player.
Like, this is a player.
And of course, he wanted out of Philly, too. Like, they got him for Drysdale in that big young star for young star trade.
So he's going to get his money.
Mm-hmm. Corey Pronman is out with his pipeline rankings on The Athletic, and this is U23 players, and here's the one thing I've always admired about Corey. Guy's freaking fearless, man. Like, he is willing to offer opinions and rankings that are off the beaten track, and he's back at it again this year with regards to his rankings of the Vancouver Canucks under 23 players. Mike, let's bring this next graphic up. A Canucks fan has done it. So Caleb Malhotra, number 1, Zeev Buium, number 2. I'm not sure you would get a lot of disagreement there. Tom Verlander, number 3. Okay, interesting. Brooks Rogowski, number 4, ahead of Novotny and Coots. That is very interesting. Then Novotny at 5 and Coots down there at number 6. Corey is not as high on Braden Coots as the industry is. Seems he's higher on Brooks Rogowski than much of the industry is. Then he moves into DPD, Liam Ogren. He's got Vilmer Ulrichsen up there. I read the write-up there, and he said, look, the man is absolutely huge, and he has some hands. If it comes together, Ulrichsen could really be a something. Ivchenko, the goaltender, Sansanens, Nicholas Aram Olsen, second-round pick, Norwegian this past year. Missing there is Medvedev as well. I was
just going to say, no Medvedev. I would switch Coots and Rogowski. That's the only... that's the only grave error I would see there. And I understand Coots, again, not projecting to be a high-end contributor, although his World Junior teammates were asked to describe him in one word, and they said, like, super skilled. It was 2 words. But, I don't know. We'll let Braden Coots become Braden Coots, but I think he's got a higher end than Brooks Rogowski. Where did they rank in the Corey Pronman rankings? Do we know?
17th.
Yeah.
The prospect pool was 17th, so just on the
prospect / young player pool. Like,
well, U23, so that includes NHL players.
Yeah. Yeah, it's sort of how good is your future?
Yeah.
17th best future.
And then a couple of announcements from the NHL we want to get into. The league has announced a first-of-its-kind strategic multi-year partnership with FC Bayern.
Mm-hmm.
And it's designed to accelerate the growth of hockey in Germany and the development of the FC Bayern brand in North America. Something tells me hockey may get more out of it than FC Bayern. But we had told you that the National Hockey League has targeted Germany as an up-and-coming growth market for games. You've got midday games that are scheduled this year with an eye towards capturing the German primetime audience. Of course, you have some stars in the league who are German, Leon Draisaitl, Tim Stützle, Moritz Seider in Detroit. And they're partnering up with, let's face it, one of the biggest brands in Germany in FC Bayern. Do wonder whether that's going to involve Thomas Muller at some point, right?
It does involve Alphonso Davies. He's already been trotted out of town.
Yeah, Alphonso Davies.
Who, by the way, started his first match on the weekend.
Yeah, what did I tell you?
7 weeks.
Quit on country. Quit on
7 weeks.
Blake, our bet, you said he would not be on the pitch for their first competitive match, which I believe is next week. He's already playing preseason games. So, again, my take.
7 weeks.
Shows club over country. Absolutely true. 100%. He quit on Canada in that game.
He could have had a torn ACL and come back in 7 weeks. Are you kidding me?
Are you kidding me? Look
7
at how long the
weeks.
soccer players take from torn ACLs. Nonsense. Don't bait me today, Price.
He played 45 minutes.
Right.
Give me a break. 7 weeks, Matt.
Where was that against Morocco, Fonzie?
7
we needed,
weeks.
We needed 20 minutes, son.
Oh, God. I'm sorry I brought it up. I brought it up to prove my point.
Yeah, well, you're going to owe me dinner when he's on the pitch in a competitive match. You're like, no way he's going to play. This is a serious injury. Well, yeah, okay. And then this from the NHL, and we had been given a sneak peek at this earlier. Hometown Remix, a partnership with the NHL and Fanatics. They are doing jerseys.
Sometimes they'll be the right size. Sometimes they'll even have two sleeves.
Special edition uniforms that uniquely and authentically celebrates the fan, city, and local culture of each team.
They do this all the time. This is not new.
So the NBA started the City Connects jerseys 9 years ago, and a decade later, the NHL is doing the same with its partner.
Well, they've already been doing this, though. They've done this.
Yep.
You know, the interesting thing from this story is that apparently there's, they've submitted color swatches already. I saw some reporting that Navy has been the one submitted by the Canucks.
Okay.
We haven't seen Navy recently.
Let's get to today's menu. It's brought to you by our friends at Greta. Skip the basement, skip the cleanup, skip fighting over who's hosting. Bring your league to Greta YVR for an unforgettable fantasy football draft party. Reserved draft space, high-speed Wi-Fi, great food, cold beer, arcade gaming, and plenty of screens. You got everything you need to kick off the season in style. Whether you're chasing a championship or just looking for an excuse to get the league together, Greta, the place to make your draft day an event. There are 3 different packages that are being available depending on how much food and bev and arcade time that your league wants. More perks for those of you who select the Hall of Fame package. That's the highest level package. If you do that, there are going to be some great perks for you and your league on Thursday and Sunday night games all season long. So check it out. And for more info, email k.kim@gretabar.com. That's k.kim@gretabar.com. We got Frank Corrado on the program today, the former Vancouver Canucks defenseman, NHL analyst at TSN. We'll ask him about comeback stories on the Vancouver Canucks. We'll talk to him about that blue line and how it's shaping up. He's got a take on Jonathan Lecker-Mackey that is a lot different than what you're seeing on social media right now with regards to the urgency this season for the young man. We'll also talk a little bit about the Ducks quagmire and whether or not the Canucks can get involved with that. And then Travis Lulay, BC Lions legend, and as of last week, named to the Lions Wall of Fame. He and Ryan Phillips, his ex-teammate, of course, Lions assistant coach, will be inducted next month. I cannot believe he's been retired for 8 years here, Blake. It seems like just yesterday. Travis used to be a weekly guest on our program, Mondays with the quarterback.
He looks good, as you'll see. He looks the same.
Absolutely. Yeah. He looks the same. He sounds the same. Fantastic catching up with someone who was a tremendous player for the Lions, Grey Cup champion, league MOP, but also just an incredible citizen who made our community better.
Yep. Later
in the show, we'll talk about the Whitecaps' loss last night. We'll point forward to the Lions game against Saskatchewan. Sad day in the world of football. A former Lion lost his life after a long and courageous battle with ALS. We'll get into that. Walter Sedin is moving on up in the soccer world. We'll get to the baseball, where the M's were absolutely humiliated a couple of days ago. Vancouver Canadians chasing a playoff spot in the Northwest League. And we'll get to some golf. And sounds like Kawhi Leonard's going to be a Raptor after all.
Again.
Boy, it's taken some time. Time now for our Bet365 bets of the day. I'm coming off a huge win. We had Houston at +4 something. Told you, it was too much. You know, it was the old Don Taylor. Bet on the team you're cheering against.
425
it was
or
plus
something?
425. And look, the Bet365 odd maker, they continue to love the Caps. They're minus 225 to beat Dallas. They're the second biggest favorite on the board, behind only Messi and Miami. Dallas is plus 550 to win this game.
You doing it again?
No, it's a little too much for me. But given what the Caps are, they're having trouble scoring. What about a tie at plus 350?
Okay. I'm looking at the Lions, who, and they're very quickly the favorites at home to the Rough Riders. Remember, the Lions were one of the preseason darlings for the team. They got off to a surprisingly bad start. So now that they've shown a pulse, clearly oddsmakers swinging back to, we actually do like the BC Lions. So the money line is not very profitable. So I'll take the spread because it's only 1.5, and that gives me slightly better. Lions minus 1.5 at minus 120.
The worst thing about hockey seasons is that every year it ends. There's a lot of time between now and the first puck drop. Good news, Bet365 still has plenty of games, just, none that require lacing up skates. At Bet365 Casino, you can choose between hundreds of slots, live tables, your favorite games, or at least your second favorite games. Must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. Frank Corrado, next. Harrison Price from the historic Wall Center. This next guest is brought to you by Nation Gear and the Off-Season Social Club. You can see this dashing hat that I'm wearing here today. It is the Nation Network partnership with Levelwear. Love that brand. Bringing you a whole new standard of apparel, premium fabrics, elevated fits, more variety than ever before. It's the limited edition off-season social club collection built for sports, between sports, from polos to premium tees, hats, hoodies. These are pieces designed for every part of your lifestyle, not just game day. Because being a fan isn't just a season. It is who you are. Head to nationgear.ca. Follow Nation Gear on social, subscribe to the newsletter, and be the first to shop new products, limited edition collections, and exclusive drops. Here he is, former Vancouver Canucks defenseman, now TSN hockey analyst, Mr. Frank Corrado. How are you doing, fella? Great to see you again.
I'm good, boys. You know, it's an interesting time here at the Corrado household. We're doing potty training with twin toddlers. So that's a wild ride, man. It's like, when you play video games and there's like another boss that you have to beat. That's what this whole thing has been like, having twins and now they're toddlers and you're doing potty training. You're like, is this the last boss or is there another one after that we have to conquer? I don't know.
There's always another boss. There's always
Bowser in the castle awaits.
Oh man.
Does one get it and the other doesn't? Is there a leader in the clubhouse in terms of figuring
what's
this
been
out?
Kind of funny, man? Like they've been kind of cheering each other on, which has been really awesome.
Good.
Like, good. One will go and we'll be like, hey, you did it. And then the other one will say, you did it. It's been really sweet. It's been really sweet. Yeah.
It's good. Summer's the best time to do it.
Do you miss those days, huh?
I do. Yeah, I did. Believe it or not, I do. And every parent will tell you, just wait. In 18 years' time, you'll be like, I'd make them 2 again in a second. So not to get all set as I send off another one to college tomorrow. So
Oh my gosh,
this is my 24-hour countdown to sending another one away. So
yep, there will be tears. Before we get on to nuts and bolts Canucks stuff, Frank, because I want to ask you about that. I also want to ask you about the matter at hand in Anaheim, which is getting quite interesting. You were such a natural. You're such a natural when it comes to broadcasting. Moved seamlessly from a playing career into some, a really big role with TSN. I mean, there's a lot of ex-players who would love to be doing what you're doing there. Help me out. Did you listen to a lot of sports talk radio growing up? Like, did you have a sense of the business? Were you sort of studying the business from afar, even during your playing days?
Not studying it, no. I didn't really have like a passion for it or an interest in it. I guess I would look like I used to watch games. Like I watched a lot of hockey, and I wondered how do they do what they do? Like how are they picking the clips? Is that a producer? Are these guys talking on teleprompter? Like a lot of just curiosity kind of stuff. To be honest with you, when I was playing, I had satellite radio. I used to listen to Howard Stern every morning on the way to the arena and like catch the replay show on the way home. And like, that really doesn't equate anything to hockey or sports, but kind of captivated by just like the morning drive and, the goofy stuff that would keep people in their car for a couple minutes longer because you wanted to hear what was going to be said next. That was kind of the extent of it. Growing up, my dad, Big Sal, or Keto Sal, used to listen to a lot of talk radio. So anytime we went to a Leaf game, we'd listen to Andy Frost and listen to all the callers on the way home. So that was something that really stuck with me. And honestly, something else he did that stuck with me was, if I had a bedtime, let's say that was halfway through the game when I was younger, he would turn the radio on in my room and I would listen to Joe Bowen and Jimmy Ralph do the game there. And then, eventually kind of fall asleep. Someone would come in the room and shut it off. But no, it wasn't like I was playing and I had to be listening to whatever drive show or whatever podcast. Like if I heard something that was interesting, cool, but it wasn't something that I was like actively studying.
Did you go
Stern's good training, though. It's unscripted,
So like him or lump him,
yeah.
There's no questioning the success of his program. He's also an extraordinary interviewer. I know people look at him and judge all the crazy stuff, but as a pure interviewer, I mean, you can teach what Howard Stern does in broadcast and journalism schools. So you didn't go out of your way to avoid it as a player then? Is that what I'm hearing as well?
No, not really. Like I wouldn't go out of my way to avoid it. I think there would be times I'm sitting in my apartment or my, in Toronto and Tim and Sid would be on or Overdrive would be on and I would tune in and see what was being said. Like, it's not like they're going at me specifically. Like I would hear stuff about my team and I kind of find it fascinating, I guess, to hear what the outside opinions were. Now, with that being said, like I've said this on other platforms and maybe with you guys as well, I remember blocking so many media members, especially in Toronto, just because I didn't want to hear, like I didn't want to see stuff on my Twitter. I just spent too much time on it, kind of creeping around. I just didn't want to see it. And in this new career, I've unblocked everyone. And like I sat with James Myrtle at a Leaf game once and he goes, "Hey, why am I blocked on your Twitter?" And I explained to him exactly why. I did an episode of Overdrive and I sat next to Dave Fezchuk and I type in his name and sure enough, he was blocked. And I'm like, "Hey, Fez, I just unblocked you on Twitter." And he goes, "Why would I be blocked? I never wrote anything bad about you." And I explained to him, it's not that you wrote anything bad. I just tried to limit how much I could see.
It was prophylactic.
Your articles. Yeah, exactly. Now, the algorithm always gets you whether you like it or not. But yeah, it was an interesting
Well,
dynamic.
the good news is Damian Cox had probably already blocked you. So,
boy.
you didn't have to
Simmons,
worry about
Cox, all the time. No,
Now,
I asked
Simmons, I love Steve. I do like Steve a lot because Steve would write something and he would come to the dressing room the very next day and look you right in the eye. And he'd probably say exactly what he wrote. So I got a lot of time for Steve in that regard, man. He's old school.
Yeah, no.
The Tony Gallagher approach.
He is fearless as well, as we noted from his question at John Chekas. introductory press conference. No, I ask you, Frank, just because I had an experience here a couple of months ago after a Canada World Cup game. Myself and a few friends were sitting down at a bar. We're talking to the guys next to us. They were younger guys. I'm like, gosh, you guys look like hockey players. And they're like, well, yeah, we are hockey players. It turns out one's a young NHLer. And I went, so you guys like listen to our show? And he's like, hell yeah. Like the young generation absolutely took in all the shows here in Vancouver. They couldn't get enough of Canucks coverage, and that they still listen from afar. And I was just absolutely blown away because like I thought the culture was once you get to the NHL, you get to your team. That's it. You leave all allegiances behind. You don't check in with the home market. You are a Panther or a Devil or a Canuck or a Maple Leaf, and that is that. And I was told by these three young professional hockey players, no, man, the game has changed. Like the young professionals grew up with all sorts of media around them, and they maintain that that tie to all the hockey media coverage in their lives, even as they make their way through the pros. They also have
professional tattletales within the organization that bring the news. I think in some cases there's somebody in the organization who's like, did you hear so-and-so? They said this about you, and tell that to the player.
It's always a friend or a family member.
Family members. Yeah, right? I think that's a big family member thing, or even just like buddies, or the worst is like fringe buddies, because your close pals aren't going to do it because they get it. Yeah. It's like some fringe guy is going to send you a clip and you're like, hey, look what they said about you on Sakaris and Price. And you're like, why do I even let you text me? Yeah. Why do you have my number?
Those are the ECHL of your friends, right?
Lose my number.
The guy who's the ECHL of your friends when you play in the NHL, he texts you at 1 p.m. on a game day asking for tickets.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I know this is late, but can you get me some front rows?
Yeah. Okay, let's move it on to the Vancouver Canucks. We're asking our Nation Gear poll question today, Frank. Who's going to author the best comeback story for the Canucks this season? Demko, Lekramaki, Pedersen. I mean, you can go off the board here. There's tons of options. Philip Hedl, needless to say. Is Brendan Gallagher a comeback story? Talk to me. What would be your level of confidence, and who would you be looking at in terms of a comeback story for the Canucks this season?
I mean, based on skill, talent, ability, you would have to think it's number 40. But I'm just not I'm not counting on that at this point. And the Brendan Gallagher one I think is a really interesting name. I don't know if it's necessarily like a comeback in the sense that he's going to score 30 goals again and he's going to be like this, this really potent offensive player. But I think there's something to be said for the role that he can play on that team, how big his voice is, how positive he is. Like the guys that are going to be following this team on the beat and the people that are going to see clips of Brendan Gallagher, and more importantly, the players in the room, they're not going to find Gallagher without a smile on his face. Like you'd be hard pressed to see it. He's a really cheerful guy, happy guy around the rink, and he brings a lot of positivity to the table. In a year that has the potential to be filled with a lot of losses, having a guy like that who can kind of steer things properly and, shape some of the focus and some of the perspective, it's going to be important. Now, you'd like to see some offensive production come with that. Hey, maybe there's a chance for that to be the case. I'm not counting on 30 goals, but pushing 20, I don't think is
18 is a comeback success.
Yeah, I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. There's something to be said there. Pedersen should be the one that does it. Just can't count on it.
I can't believe you haven't mentioned Demko. Are you that down on his body cooperating?
That's the thing, man. That's what and you know what the scary part is? It's not like goalies and him especially. It's not like they're being asked to play 60 plus games anymore. No. Like a reasonable number for Demko. Like, can you get him above 45 games? I think is hey, we've done something right here. That's a lot of rest. And especially now in an 84 game season, and they have they have another goalie who can carry a lot of the brunt of that workload. But that's what scares me. It's not an ability thing. It's a dependability thing with him. And the more you break down, the more the chain kind of gets jammed up and down, and other things start to creep up. It's not an easy place to be as an athlete.
Whether it's Thatcher Demko whenever he gets to the crease, or whether it's Kevin Lankinen, who I suspect is going to play a lot, particularly early in the season. And Tolopilo when he gets his opportunities. How much better off do you think these goaltenders will be not having a group of skaters in front of them who are trying to and mostly failing to process the way Adam Foote
big
wanted
bodies
to
like Alexiak and Shen blocking shots?
Yeah, it's gonna be different. Like look at that the back end as currently constructed today. Like you'll have Hronik, Buyum, Alexiak, Wielander, Shen, Pedersen. There's going to be some bigger bodies for sure. There's going to be some guys that can move the puck for sure. Like it's not a bad blue line by any sense of the imagination. But the thing is, good defensemen can get exposed on teams where they don't work in sync with their forwards, right? Like if you're always two defensemen without centerman support or without, winger support on walls getting pucks out, then you're just two defensemen that could be pretty good on paper that just get, you're digging the puck out of your own net and chalking up minuses all the time. So it's going to be important that they work in unison, work as 5-man units. And, it's such a cliche. It's such a standard thing to say, but it is true. The quicker they grasp what is being taught to them, the better the 6-man unit is going to look.
You were very big on Victor Mancini when he came over from the Rangers a couple of years ago. Basically a make or break season here for Mancini. What's your confidence level there?
Well, I think sometimes with young defensemen, and he would fall into this category, you get mesmerized by like the really positive things, the things they do well, and you cling on to it. And a coach, with some of these young defensemen is not necessarily looking at what is the ceiling for this guy, what's the floor? Like what's his worst game look like, or what's his worst stretch look like? And making sure that you can raise your floor as a young defenseman so that you can earn more trust is paramount. And that's where I see him really needing to take another step this season. Like when he has the flashes of greatness, you're like, that's an NHL defenseman. And he doesn't have to do that all the time. He has to do that at the same frequency or maybe even a little bit less, but you can't have the bigger turnovers or a missed coverage and the things that really compound in the eyes of a coach that questions how much they can trust you. So yeah, it's a make or break season, or it's a really important season because I don't know. We're gonna be in a situation not that far away. We're gonna have more teams. There's gonna be more jobs available for the individual. You'd like it to work with this team, but that's how I see it. Like raise your floor so that it's easier to be trusted in more situations.
Yeah, and he is under contract for this year and next. It should be pointed out.
And those that follow him in Abbotsford too say that he is lights out.
He looks great there. He looks great.
So he's got to make the jump. Is it? If we're saying it's do or die for him, he's 24. I've heard that phrase uttered when it comes to Jonathan Lekkerimäki. He's 20. Like he turned 22 3 weeks ago. Now, is it a different standard for forwards? And this is a guy coming off of surgery, so that's the other caveat here. But based on age and what you want,
rotator cuff and labrum too. It's a tough one.
Yeah.
Is it really do or die for him? It doesn't feel like that to me.
No, I've seen this get floated around on Twitter, and I've been scratching my head with it. Like I don't understand why it's make or break time for Lekkerimäki. Like he scored what, a handful of goals over the past couple seasons that he's played in the NHL. Like he hasn't really been overly healthy. They also played on a team last year that was terrible and lacked center depth, and he's young. He's still got runway, in my opinion. Like you don't have to be the best version of yourself in your early 20s. The thing is now we've just become so accustomed to guys stepping in the league, taking a year to maybe figure it out. And then right away it's like, boom, this guy's on an entry-level contract and he's great. And you're thinking about offering him, an 8x8, or that's going to change now, obviously. But that's been the template for a lot of guys. It's not the case anymore, but I don't know. I don't really buy into like it's make or break time for him. Take a step forward, and what's going to happen? Like you're still going to be playing hockey. There's still going to be either this team or other teams that see potential in you to be a goal scorer. Like it's not like you're going to stop playing if it doesn't go well. So I don't see it as make or break, really.
I think a year from now, we're probably talking in those terms.
Yep.
But
I think that's
right
fair.
now, this is the comeback year.
Lastly, Frank, Anaheim in a cap quagmire after the Leo Carlsson massive offer sheet that they match. Cutter Gauthier is a restricted free agent. He's looking for big bucks. Might just cap them out. There's lots of talk that there's going to be a veteran player shaking free there. They both have trade protection, but talk to me about Alex Couture and Frank Vatrano, whether or not you think either of them could be of help to the Vancouver Canucks or anyone else, particularly if you can get them at low cost to fix Anaheim's cap trouble.
Yeah, I was actually looking at this the other day. Like, Anaheim's pretty flush with draft picks. They're going to have 3 second rounders in 2027. And then after that, like, they have their picks basically for every round. They're going to be losing some of those picks here. There's no way they're going to be able to move guys like Kreider or Killorn or Vatrano, especially, without adding a sweetener in. So if you're a team like Vancouver, you got cap space, you want to try and bolster things a little bit because you want to maintain some semblance of competitiveness. You're looking at Anaheim and you're seeing what could you possibly grab to take on some of their players. As far as the guys that would be available, Alex Killorn is 36 years old, but he's a good player. He's smart with the puck. Like, he can play in a lot of different situations. He kind of like he would carry over some of the Tampa Bay knowledge, and not going to say that, he's coming over here to help the team push for a championship. But hey, it's nice to have guys that have won and carry themselves a certain way and have been around that, like sometimes when you lose a lot, there's a certain odor to it. Well, there's a different odor when you've won a lot, and he would carry that. The Vatrano thing, he has that weird contract, like that deferred money contract where he's going to get paid over a long period of time. So that presents a unique challenge from a financial standpoint, whether the organization wants to take that on. But I mean, he is a pretty speedy, shoot first guy who likes to get like a lot of volume of shots. It didn't go well for him last year in Anaheim, but they were also a much deeper team, so they didn't have a lot of room for him. So it would be interesting to see how, what they would have to attach to entice people to take these guys on.
Wow, he's thinking attachment too, huh?
He's got the extra year on his deal.
He does.
I mean,
2 more years for.
I know the Canucks are looking to get something probably for Jake DeBrusk, but do they settle for just trimming years off of the situation? Like, would Anaheim want a Jake DeBrusk if you just
can't
swap
afford
that?
it?
The thing is, they can't afford it.
Yeah,
right?
until they get.
Think about Anaheim. They're going to have to pay Cutter Gauthier like in the Bedard kind of. The Bedard area,
yeah.
like it's got to be. He's not going to take 13 now, so it's between 15 and 18. You would think they got $9 million in cap space. Like, I don't see how. Like, there's some pretty good UFAs that aren't signed, and I've talked to a couple of guys, and they've basically said, "Hey, teams are interested, but they're full. Like, there's no room." So I don't know if you're Anaheim and you need to ship out one of these guys, I think you have to attach a sweetener. I can't imagine them not.
Well, we talked about those UFAs, Bunting, Tarasenko, Tolvanen, Stanley. There's some others out there that I would be all over.
A guy like JVR, like you can count on 18 to 20 goals or 15 to 20 goals, JVR, right, any day of the week.
Yeah, do what Dubas did back with the Leafs. Sign them to 1-year deals. If you're the Canucks, flip them at the deadline. Get yourself a draft pick asset just to have them play 60 games for you. Marvelous stuff, Frank. We'll let you get back to potty training. Thank you for the time.
See you, boys.
Sick Harrison Price from the historic Wall Center. Our next guest is a Grey Cup champion, a Grey Cup MVP, a CFL most outstanding player.
And now,
it was announced last week, a latest inductee to the Lions Wall of Fame with his old teammate and Lions current assistant coach, Ryan Phillips. There'll be a ceremony at BC Place next month. Of course, they have the big one Sunday, the Watermelon Smash game against the Rough Riders. 4:00 on Sunday, but it's been too long since we've caught up with Travis Lulay, Lions legend, who joins us now from his home in Staten, Oregon. Good to see you again. Congratulations, Travis.
Yeah, thanks so much. Good to see some familiar faces. You guys look and sound just how I remember.
Oh, I'm sure. Yes, I'm sure. I think the media saw this release and went, all right. Two of our guys. We know we can get clips out of these guys. They are talkers, both of them. So congratulations, and we're glad that it's you guys.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, I was excited when Jamie Terrace gave me the call. It's funny. He kind of gives me, we're just making small talk. Oh, how's family? Da-da-da. And then he goes, oh, by the way, I'm calling on behalf of the Wall of Fame committee. Oh, and Ryan Phillips is going in, and don't tell him because he doesn't know yet. So we got to wait for that news to come out. I said, okay, well, let me know when he knows. So yeah, all good. Ryan's a great guy. I'm honored to go in with him. That's pretty fun.
What does it mean to you, Travis, to get this honor?
It really is pretty special. It still feels a little funny. There's like a disconnect between, it feels like yesterday you were playing and now you're removed from the game and being recognized for the things that happened in the past, right? So that's kind of a funny reality, but it's really special. I played all 10 years of my CFL career with the BC Lions. I know Vancouver and the BC Lions as the CFL, right? And so it's pretty cool to get that recognition from the club and just the guys that, we kind of casually stay in contact, text messages, social media here and there. But the guys all coming out of the woodworks to give me a shout when they saw the news from the club was pretty darn special. Just brought me right back to all those relationships along the way. That's what it's all about.
I always get a kick out of the Americans that get onto the Wall of Fame, and because I always want to go back to day one where they first heard about the CFL, first knew that there was interest, and just then all of a sudden, you smash cut to now and you're on a Wall of Fame for the organization. Take us through that process when you first thought, maybe I should try the CFL thing.
Yeah, well, going way back. I played my college ball at Montana State. Dave Dickinson is from the state of Montana. So when I was playing in college, Dave was a starting quarterback in BC. So I would get updates of the BC Lions, in particular, just local newspapers and what have you. And I knew the name. Dave was a University of Montana legend, right? So I was kind of familiar with what was happening. And then kind of through that similar network, Ken Staninger was Dave's agent. He was recruiting me fresh out of college. The general manager of the BC Lions, Bob Obilovich, he hails from Butte, Montana. So there was like a Montana connection and saying, hey, we want you to come up and play. And I remember Ken even saying, like, listen, I think you could make an NFL squad as a backup. I think you're a CFL star, though. And I'm going, okay. So the seed was just planted early on for me. And then Obi was calling me every offseason, every time I'd get released, hey, we want you to come up and play. We want you to come up. I just put that off for a few years, chasing this NFL thing around, played in Europe one spring. And then, so that's ultimately how it happened and how the seed had been planted in my mind that the CFL was something I wanted to see out if the NFL didn't happen within my first couple of years. And that's what happened. So I bounced around the NFL for 3 years, kind of got sick of the phone calls, cuts, going on a practice squad, and then, getting released without ever playing. I'm like, nobody knows if I can play. I think I can. And I remember my last time I got released in Seattle, Mike Holmgren was still the GM head coach, and I sat outside his office for hours. And I was like, I'm not leaving until I, shake his hand one more time, say, Coach, thanks for the opportunity the last couple of years. And he sits me down. He says, hey, Trav, you need to go somewhere where you get on the field and prove that you can play. And I'm like, well, I've been saying that here. That was kind of in your control in Seattle. But it was a good vote of confidence, right? For me, kind of as a parting shot was like, hey, go play somewhere. You can play. And so ultimately, I remember calling BC back up and say, okay, we're doing this thing. And Obi was no longer the GM at the time. But it was like, what do you want? Where do I need to show up and work out? I want to come up there and see what happens. And ultimately that's what happened. In spring of 2009, I went to a workout up in Portland. I drove from my then home in Montana to Portland for the workout, had a good workout, got a call from Neil McAvoy a week or two later and said, okay, kid, we're bringing you to camp. And so then you're kind of just starting over. I'm fresh. These guys don't know me. They don't care. There's guys here, Buck Pierce, BC Lions head coach, was the starting quarterback. J-Jack was there. They had another young guy named Zach Champion they liked from the year before. They're like, it's going to be really competitive. We like our guys. It's going to be competitive here. I said, whatever. I got nothing to lose anymore. So I just kind of came in guns blazing and went from there.
Well, I will never forget this as long as I live, because Abbotsford Bible College, right? For training camp in 2009, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
It's pouring rain. It seemed to always pour rain there in the Fraser Valley.
Yep.
And I show up on like day 2 or 3 of camp, and the indefatigable Lowell Ulrich is there. And he says, Lions beat reporter for the province, and he says, I'm going to need a few minutes with the fourth-string quarterback there, the redhead from Montana State. And I'm sitting there going, Lowell, like, what are you doing?
What deep dive are you
you're
doing?
Just wasting your time. They got Buck Pierce. They got Jerry Check. I even think Zach Champion started games and won games the previous year. And I'm like, Wally's not keeping 4 quarterbacks. This is crazy talk. But you made an impression, and you made an impression early, Travis, in those first few days at the Abbotsford Bible College, which got you on the map with Wally and Neil and the offensive staff. And sure enough, a philosophy change. They kept a 4th quarterback, if I'm not mistaken, because of you.
Do you think there was one thing that you did in camp that caught their eye, or just the accumulation of it all, do you think?
Yeah, I do think it was kind of an accumulation, but those 3 seasons in the NFL, though they weren't super fruitful for me from a playing point of view, I was ready to be on the field. So I think I had pretty good command. And that was maybe what caught them off guard, was that I was just like, I'm acting like I run this place, And so I was taking ownership of the huddle. And this was all very intentional for me. And it's like, well, I got nothing to lose, right? So that is, I came in very, very determined, very intentional. And I was, it was like a good sports psychology moment for me too. Cause I'm a pretty calculated guy, right? Like, I'm like, okay, I want to look like the starter and do things this way. And I was like, I don't know that much. There's 12 guys on, like, this is new to me. I know it's new to me, but I know where there's an open spot, and I know, I'm pretty quick. If there's a lane, I'm going to run. And I think Wally liked that. I know he did, that I used my feet to make some plays. Obviously, he had coached the Doug Flutys and Jeff Garcias of the world, and he saw some of that in me and was just like, yeah, hey. I remember him saying to me on about day 2, he's like, no, if there's a lane, go ahead. Go take it, do whatever you do there. And so I was, okay, great. He's giving me the green light to run around. And so it was some of that. And then, I just got just a sliver of an opportunity. I think I went in with 2.5 minutes to play, preseason week 1 in Calgary. We're down 2 scores, and I always look back on that tiny little window, and I completed a ball on first down, first play in the CFL preseason game. D-end came upfield on a naked bootleg play. I had to burn it. So it's 2nd and 10. I'm 0 for 1. And it's like, if I don't complete a ball here, I might never get on the field again. And I converted 2nd down, and then I hit another couple, and then threw a touchdown 4 plays later. And everyone's, oh, this is awesome. And I'm like, that's the thread I was clinging to at the time, And so then I remember it was preseason week 2. They said, okay, well, Wally wants to see if that was for real. This is literally the pregame talk I got. Steph Krupp, the quarterback coach at the time, was, Wally wanted to see if that was for real last week, or if that was just a flash in the pan. So you're going in the 3rd quarter here tonight. So, okay, well, here we go. And first play, Jacques Chapelain dialed up a deep play action, and I hit Maurice Mann, who was a former Seattle Seahawks training camp teammate of mine. I hit Mo Mann for a big long play, and then I hit Manny Arsenal for a touchdown on the next play. And Manny and I both kind of like fist bump, like, they're not cutting us now, man. We're going to be here for a minute. So, yeah, so it went from there.
Wow.
Awesome.
Did you hear the little Wally impersonation?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I love it.
Travis, okay. Well, and of course, nothing new for you, because like your story is Class 2A football in small town Oregon. You get to Montana State. No one's thinking this kid's getting on the field anytime soon. You got on the field so you did pretty well with opportunities, 14 over your career, huh?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah. And good knowledge, Matt. I was one of 3 quarterbacks coming out of high school that committed to Montana State. They were still kind of rebuilding the program at the time, and said, we're just open competition. We need better quarterback play. We're 3 high school kids coming in. And so we came in and competed, and I became the 2 out of training camp. I had a good enough camp. They set me at the 2 spot. We had a 5th-year senior starter who had transferred from Oregon State. Who was, playing behind Derek Anderson coming up at Oregon State. So he needed a spot to go play. And he was, by all accounts, a Northwest blue chip guy, big arm, tall kid. Prosser, Washington. I think he played for Kellen Moore's dad at Prosser, Washington, Tyler Thomas. And so the plan was to sit behind him as a fifth-year senior and then hopefully compete the next year. And we started that season slow, and I came in a game and made a few things happen in the fourth quarter, and they handed me the keys week 5 of my true freshman year. So
that's amazing. I got to say, of all the players I covered in the Canadian Football League, if you had asked me, who are you absolutely assured is going to stay in the game, be a coach, or find some role in football post-playing career, I would have said Travis Lulay, because you talked, ate like you were everything football with a great mind for the game. I can't believe it's been 8 years, and I can't believe, have you been out of the game for 8 years? Tell me you're coaching high school football or something like that down there in Oregon. Do you miss it?
Yes. Yeah. I actually was working the local high school, the youth football camp this past week. So, I've stayed involved. I have worked kind of individually with some of the local area quarterbacks. And it's like guys have found out that I was back in town. I was like, hey, you want to come work with this kid? Happy to. But I'll tell you this, Matt, I have 3 daughters. We're in middle school. My wife is a volleyball coach. My girls love volleyball. It keeps us very busy in the fall. And I don't want to miss so much of what I would have to miss coaching football. So in this season of life, no formal coaching role, but I at the high school level, but I do coach middle school girls basketball. I coach middle school girls softball, and my wife coaches volleyball in the fall. So we stay plenty busy. The coaching bug is deeply rooted within me, and I'm getting to scratch that itch by coaching the girls. I'm having a blast with it. 10 years ago, I wouldn't have guessed that I'm a 14U girl softball coach, but that's like where life has taken me, and I love it. So now it's been really fun. Really fun. But yeah, there's an alternate world where there's no doubt I kept pursuing the coaching gig at a professional level and ran with it. But here we are.
Speaking of running with it, how's the health? Because if your body was cooperating, you'd probably be on the Mount Rushmore of CFL quarterbacks if you're not already. If we asked you to run an option play, is it? Are you passing for sure? Is there any chance you're running?
I'm gonna try like heck to pass it. Yeah.
That's his first read.
If I gotta do what I gotta do, you guys know I would do it. No, my body's doing pretty good. I have shoulder stuff, so I don't throw at an elite level, right? But I don't need to. So day to day, my shoulder's perfectly good, and that's where the most stuff happened for me from a health perspective that impacted my career. My last year, obviously, I was coming off the ACL. The knee is still a bit buggered up. So I'd be running, but I wouldn't be running all that fast. So. But I'm doing good on a day-to-day basis. Body's holding up. Yeah,
that's good.
Blake, hear my mouth here for a second, but we all remember the 2011 BC Lions season, right? We were still a little bit in mourning from the Canucks Stanley Cup final loss. And then the team goes out and loses its first 5 games of the season, right? Starts 0-5.
Nobody remembers.
Right, exactly. And then some smart-ass columnist from the Globe and Mail is like, they need to sit this Lulay guy and play Jarius Jackson. I wonder what became of that columnist. And then it turns into 1-6, and then all of a sudden we rip off 8 consecutive victories, and we wind up going to and winning a home Grey Cup. Lions started 1-5 this year. I mean, the Grey Cup's not here, but
very similar. Yeah,
just saying this.
That team is perennially brought up on any poor start in the CFL. It always comes back to your team of but
that's got to matter to you. That's got to be meaningful to you, right? Because that could have been dead season right there, and God knows where a lot of careers go if that season goes down the gutter, and instead it ends with lifting a trophy in front of your home fans.
Yeah, you bet. No, and it is something we look back on with, a lot of pride and that it was a really rewarding and, again, another like life lesson experience, right? Our team, felt like we were better than 0-5, but you are what your record is, right? There's no escaping it in pro sports. So, the big lesson, though, being that, we were right that we had a really good foundation, and we didn't make wholesale changes. We didn't fire coordinators and make big sweeping changes at every position across the board. We did add a few guys that obviously really helped. Arlen Bruce, Tad Cornegay, Kareem Smith, Andrew Harris got more run in the back half of that season. And guys kind of grew up in front of our eyes. I think I was part of that. I was, playing pretty good football at the end of 2010, but we were just a little bit inconsistent. And we, in that 0-5 start, we had leads in the fourth quarter, 4 of those 5 games. So it was like we really were close and better than that, but we just didn't know how to win yet. And now it's like backs against the wall. We can't wait, and we just got hot. Momentum's a real thing in pro sports, and we had great leadership. I mean, from the coaching staff into the locker room, that if we didn't have, obviously could have gone very, very different that year. But yeah, to your point, this year's Lions squad, 1-5, they're way ahead of Grey Cup pace. Golly.
Yeah, right. What do you make of a Canadian quarterback doing as well as Nathan Rourke is doing? I mean, I'm sure you saw a couple of guys come in and out of various training camps, but nobody's stuck quite like Nathan Rourke.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, he's an elite player in the league. I mean, regardless of where his passport says he was born, the guy can just play ball, right? So I thought that early on. I was still paying attention to the club when my good friend Mike Riley had come back to BC. I think they played that last year together. Nathan was the backup. Mike's final year in BC, and he had said, no, Nathan's going to be a starter in this league. He's a good young player. He's got a good head on his shoulders, and obviously he's just a really disciplined guy. I think it's super important too. It means a lot to him. I say that often. I'll see the quarterback come in on the outside, and you never know. You never know what the CFL opportunity means to a guy, and if they're really committed to their craft and being the best that they can be. And to me, that's what I see in Nathan. Like he really wants to be a great quarterback in the league, and that's and the fruit of all that labor has been his productivity on the field. So it's really fun to watch. I like his game too, right? He's an athletic guy. He runs around. He makes plays with his feet when he needs to. He competes, and he threw a pick in the end of that game in the fourth quarter this last week in Calgary. That's mentally tough, but he's scratching and clawing in the pocket to get a throw off. I can remember these moments, right? I'm trying so hard to help my team win a game, and then the outcome is bad, right? There's a result that happens that's negative. And it's like, well, if he wasn't as good at getting away from the pass rush and giving the play a chance, he would never have thrown that pick. If he was a bum, he'd got tackled in the pocket and sacked him, right? So like he makes enough plays and then he comes back out and leads another drive and they go win the football game. And obviously old friend and teammate TJ Lee ices the game with a pick in the end zone. But it takes a lot of mental toughness for those types of moments that people often aren't really thinking about, but in the mind of the quarterback in that moment, a guy just has to be competitive, has to believe in what he's doing to help a team win a game like that. So, yeah, I'm a fan. I've been a Nathan Rourke fan since he got on the field. So they always have a chance when he's holding the ball.
Yeah. He's got moxie.
Yeah.
Kind of like another quarterback we remember.
Yeah.
You mentioned Riley. How's Mike doing?
Yeah.
Mike's doing good. Mike and I don't talk as often as we used to. He took a job with fire department. So that's like what he's doing, right? So he does the fire shift. So it'll be 3 days just completely out of context. So if you text him when he's like on shift, you may not hear back from him, right?
Yeah.
But he's doing good. Wife, 2 daughters. They're living outside the greater Seattle area. Happy, healthy family. Everyone's doing good. And I think his body's holding up too. So, yeah.
Can you remember we used to do this thing called Wednesdays with, where we'd bring a guest in studio for an hour? We did one with Mike Riley, and we set him up with a question from a listener, Travis in Blaine, Washington, because he used to live there. And Riley knew exactly. Oh, yeah, sure. Travis in Blaine, Washington. He was pretty sharp, that Riley. As were you. Travis, we look forward to the induction ceremony. It's going to go down September 12th, the game against the Montreal Alouettes. It's a Saturday at BC Place. As mentioned, they got a big one Sunday against the Rough Riders. Having won 3 in a row, battling out of that 1-5 hole. Great to see you again. Congratulations, my friend. Appreciate the time.
Thanks, gentlemen. Look forward to seeing y'all in a few weeks.
Sick Harrison Price from the historic Wall Center, the Nation Network studio, built by Arbor Lee. Cheer harder when you're well rested. Sheridan Vancouver Wall Center puts you minutes from the arena, miles ahead the next day. Lock in your stay at wallcenter.com. Well, you called it with Paul Dolan on Apple TV, Vancouver Whitecaps FC in their throwback 86ers jerseys. Might have been the best part of them last night. Lose 1-0 to Houston before 22,849 at BC Place. They fall out of first place in the MLS West. That's because the Dynamo are unbeaten in 8. They're on 5 straight clean sheets, and they take a 1-point lead in the standings, albeit having played an extra game. Ryan Lulay scored an equalizing goal for the Caps in the second half, but it was called back by VAR after a foul was detected that went uncalled. I saw a lot of griping about that on social media from Caps supporters. I thought it was a clear foul. I thought it was a clear foul the moment I saw it live, and I thought it was a foul when I saw it. It was on a foul, replay as well.
And to be honest, the referee, if you were going to gripe that he was tilting one way or the other, I would say he was tilting in favor of the Whitecaps for most of the night. There was a lot of heavy tackles that he just said play on that really benefited the Whitecaps. I mean, the Whitecaps did not play terribly. Their ability to win the ball back on the press was extraordinary last night.
And it remains an aesthetically pleasing way to play soccer.
But then you need to do something when you get the ball, and the incursions into the box have disappeared. Now it is super simple, and it is super correct to say, in the last half hour, boy, did they miss Seb Berhalter. And they absolutely did. But I think you could also make the argument, if Brian White's available,
there you go.
He probably scores one of the first early goals that Ryan Lulay could not. Or no, more importantly, he doesn't score them. He sets up a wide open Oliver Larraz on that first half chance where he's trying to shoot from the tough angle. Brian White's vision in those sorts of scenarios is extraordinary. He would have offloaded Oliver Larraz. And then in the second half, there's another similar situation where, I mean, Thomas Muller lit Lulay up like a Christmas tree after he didn't offload it again. He went for and you hate to be critical, and Dolly said this last night, you want to tell a young striker, shoot. That's
right,
your job.
That's the job.
But when you're pushed that far over, also part of the job is having the knowledge of, this is not my moment. My buddy in the box, middle of the box, unmarked. That's the play. So I think Brian White finds a
There was a cross, too, in a beautiful position with two Caps there, and nobody gets ahead on it. Brian White was absolutely missed.
Yeah. He's a big target for all those crosses they were sending into the box.
And he's just a highly intelligent player. So is Seb Berhalter. So without those two guys, certainly the offense has been neutered a little bit. Of course, Surtees, Jeevan Bodwal didn't play last night. Right. Concussion. Winger Kenji Cabrera is also out here. They'll try again Saturday at BC Place versus FC Dallas. It's a 6:30 kickoff. And news from Whitecaps FC 2, where Walter Sedin, the Canadian U20 international, and of course the son of Henrik Sedin, has been signed by FC2. So, theoretically, we could see a Sedin playing for the big Whitecaps team at some point.
Especially in the near term, like we saw with Johnny Salamani and Liam McKenzie last night. You get signed to a short-term loan when injuries befall the Whitecaps. So, yes, you could see Sedin on the back of a professional Vancouver uniform very soon.
Love it.
Like maybe this year.
Go Walter. Bring it on. And the Canadian men's national team in their performance at the World Cup, floating many boats. Promise David is off to the English Premier League. He is signing with Brighton and Hove Albion ahead of the opening weekend. EPL gets going on Friday. 41 goals and 9 assists in 82 appearances with Royal Union Saint-Gillois in the Belgian league. Yeah, we have a Canadian international playing in the EPL. And Bim Peppel, the Canadian Premier League striker, who is getting some run now with the national team. There are reports in England from The Guardian that he's going to sign with Wrexham, Ryan Reynolds' team,
which is perfect
in
for
the
him.
English Championship.
He jumps a rung on the English football ladder, so that's great. And I love it for Promise too, in that there's no point in going to a ballyhooed club, a storied Premier League club, and then being the backup and never seeing the pitch. For a middling team like Brighton, he'll get minutes, presumably. He's got a chance to maybe win the striker's job at some point. So I think it's a great fit. He's going to get a lot better because of it. And there's also some rumors too that Jonathan David may leave Juve and jump to the Premier League as well. So the Premier League could become a pretty interesting spot for Canadian soccer fans.
Would love to see it.
Yeah.
Seattle Mariners fans were already disappointed, ornery, even angry. And then they went out and lost 22-0 to the Milwaukee Brewers on Tuesday. It is the largest shutout in Brewers history. It is tied for the largest shutout in Major League history in 126 years. And the score gets out of hand because Mariners star center fielder Julio Rodriguez catches a fly ball and throws it into the stands thinking it's the third out. J-Rod, it was the second out. 2 additional runs score on that error.
Yeah.
As Mina Kimes, ESPN NFL analyst, but Seattleite and big Mariners fan, writes, the Seahawks gave up fewer points in 17 of their 21 games last year. Look at that box.
Man.
Look at that line score. 9 runs in the 8th inning. I mean, it was already 13-0, and then they put a 9 spot up in the 8th.
Yeah, and you're right. Like, Mariners fans were already so disheartened, so disillusioned. Now you're adding embarrassment to it.
Just humiliation.
Like, I don't know how Dan Wilson certainly won't survive.
Cannot. He has made too many mistakes this season.
Yeah.
No.
And now, as for management, like
there's now talk. There's people going. There's a tough column in the Seattle Times going after Jerry DiPoto this week. And look, you're getting to the end of the window because this great rotation that we've talked about it's about to get very, very expensive. And so, are you going to let Jerry DiPoto try and manage the rest of the window? It would be a hell of a shame if the same management group, which has proven it can't get it done thus far, squanders what's left of this Mariners window.
There's not been a lot of off seasons or trade deadlines where people have said, hey, the Mariners really got this right.
Well, last year was probably the best. Josh Naylor and Gino Suarez were needed bats, got them to the playoffs, produced enough.
Suarez
certainly
was
Naylor did.
Suarez was
Naylor,
terrible.
yeah, but Naylor produced enough. Got him to Game 7 of the American League Championship Series. Who'd they lose to again?
The hottest team. Well, they're not the hottest team, but they're a good team.
They're that team. The Jays are trying to win a series in Tampa today, and then they're into the Bronx. And the Yankees are throwing Schlittler. Rodon is making his return to the mound, and the Yankees also throw Ryan Weathers, who had the Jays number last week as well. So it's going to be tough for the Blue Jays against the Yankees at the stadium in the Bronx this weekend. We'll see. Vancouver Canadians dropped one in Eugene last night to fall out of first place in the Northwest League second half standings. Outfielder Austin Smith with a pair of dingers. You were right about this earlier in the week. I was wrong.
They changed it. It used to be
right.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Eugene won the first half standings in the Northwest League. And if you're not familiar, what happens is there are 2 spots in the League Championship Series. One goes to the team with the best record in the first half. One goes to the team with the best record in the second half. Eugene won the first half. Eugene is leading the Seas by a half game in the second half standings. I was under the impression if Eugene won the second half, it would go to the team with the best overall record season long. But I am corrected and told, no, they did change it a couple of years ago, 3 years ago. It is the team with the second best record in the second half who would qualify for
Which
the
makes
postseason,
sense.
Which would be the Vancouver Canadians. So they don't have to catch Eugene. They just have to finish a clear-cut second.
And it's a really astute rule change for them because so much change to the roster at this level from the beginning of the season to the end of the season. And for competitive purposes, you probably want the team that has been most competitive of late rather than the team that started the season. The first half of the season is eons ago, really. So, that makes a lot more sense. You're going to get a more competitive team, I think, in the playoffs. So.
Yeah. One homestand left, everybody. It begins on Tuesday at I say one homestand left. They make the league championship.
That's
so
right.
We'll have more home games.
Yeah.
But as it stands right now, one homestand left. You got 6 chances left to see the Seas next week against Spokane, Tuesday through Sunday. Tuesday, the 75th anniversary celebrations continue at the Nat with a jersey auction and a Trey Yesavage bobblehead giveaway. You'll have to hit up David Quadrelli for his tips on how to get in on every single giveaway at the Nat. He is most expert. A RBC Week Care Wednesday in support of Ballet BC. Post-game fireworks on Thursday. A Friday nooner, of course. James Paxton is going to be there a week from Saturday. The former Mariner and Yankee threw a no-hitter at Rogers Center once upon a time. Paxton will be there signing autographs. And then the final White Spot Family Fun Sunday with a lunch bag giveaway. Get your tickets, 604-872-5232 or CanadiansBaseball.com. Congrats to catcher Edward Duran. He has been called up to Double-A New Hampshire. New Hampshire came to us late last year. Good defensive player. He's got a chance to make the bigs based on his glove. And speaking of call-ups, congratulations to Matt Tugboat Wilkinson, the 270-pound lefty from Ladner, British Columbia, who was promoted to the San Francisco Giants, made his major league debut and threw a pair of scoreless innings last night. Wilkinson is a former Little League World Series star for Canada, also pitched well at the World Baseball Classic. This past spring, he took the minors by storm 2 years ago in the Cleveland Guardians organization. He was traded over to San Francisco earlier this season. And Blake, how about this? The game was being done by a play-by-play guy called Dave Fleming. 10 years ago, he called his Little League World Series game on ESPN. Yes, he told the story on the broadcast last night. He said, I saw the Giants were calling up this AAA pitcher, Wilkinson, and I thought to myself, could that be the same kid I called pitching for Canada 10 years? Yeah, sure enough, it was. Alas, Little Mountain, those Asian teams are tough, and the Koreans got over 7-0 on Canada in their opener at the Little League World Series.
While you're talking about call-ups of great nicknames, I'll update the Iowa meat truck. We talked to our viewers about him being called up from the Canadians all the way to AAA.
Yeah, well, he had already made AAA, and this was kind of a demotion to get in some better shape, meat truck.
167 so far, 4 for 24.
Yeah.
He's got a homer, but
yeah.
Come on.
Big boy.
Come on, meat truck.
Meat truck versus tugboat. Would love to see it.
That's a lot of beef. Yeah.
BC Lions home this weekend, too. They got a big one Sunday versus the Riders at BC Place, 4 p.m. kickoff. Linebacker Deontay Williams missed practice yesterday. Offensive lineman Brandon Yates Anuanuna limited. Lions have won 3 in a row. A fourth would get their record back to even Steven at 5-5. Saskatchewan sits 6-3. They're a half game back of Edmonton for first place in the CFL West. Elks home to the Bombers tomorrow. And of course, the Lions will be interested in that one because they are chasing Winnipeg for third place. They're 1 game back as the CFL schedule rounds the turn into the second half. Xander Horvath just continues to collect weekly CFL awards. He is your CFL Player of the Week for a second consecutive week. There you see it, 134 yards from scrimmage on 15 carries, another touchdown. 6'3", 240 pounds. Get this guy the football.
Love watching him run.
And Seahawks will be in town this weekend. They're going to have presence at the fair on the weekend as the Lombardi Trophy is making a visit. Super Bowl champs, now they're in training camp. They're playing preseason games. So no players are going to be on site, but the mascot will be there. And there's a chance for fans to take photos with the Vince Lombardi Super Bowl trophy Saturday and Sunday at the fair. On the personnel side, Hawks are real busy at cornerback. They had already signed troubled Terrian Arnold, ex of the Detroit Lions. Also signed former Dallas Cowboy Trevon Diggs yesterday, brother of Stephon Diggs, the wide receiver, who once upon a time was a ball hawk in the Cowboys.
Is he just injury plagued, or was there a little scandal with him too?
No, there's been a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
I think it's been more
injuries.
His brother has certainly been the headlines.
Yes, that's what I was wondering if I'm just conflating.
So trying to secure that position. Needless to say, John Schneider and Mike McDonald are saying something about their worries at that key spot. And, I like it because if there's a position on the field that can unravel you quickly, it's corner. Like if you're blowing coverages and getting beat deep, I don't care how well you're playing in the other facets of the game. That can be a real undoing.
And the upsides of both of those players is quite up.
Arnold is quite troubled. I was a little surprised they went down that road, but hey, there's no question he can play football. I heard you talking about it with Farhan. Football usually wins out over character, unfortunately. Speaking of character, this is very sad news. Former Grey Cup and Super Bowl champion O.J. Brigance has passed away at the age of 56. He had a 19-year battle with ALS. He was a member of the BC Lions from 1991 through 1993. He was with the Baltimore Stallions for 2 seasons thereafter, where he won his Grey Cup. He would then go on to play 7 seasons in the National Football League with Miami, Baltimore, the Rams, and Patriots. He was diagnosed in 2007 with Lou Gehrig's disease. He established the Brigance Brigade Foundation, which is a nonprofit that raises money and awareness for ALS. The Lions put out a statement saying they were saddened to learn of the passing of Brigance. The quote here from Jamie Terrace, of course, longtime Lions player and employee, saying, as great a player as O.J. Brigance was, he was an even better individual. Positive energy about him, no matter the day or circumstances, was someone that everybody rallied around. He had that kind of presence about him, was a terrific teammate who was loved by everybody in the organization. Our thoughts are with his wife, Chanda, and their entire family at this difficult time. Yeah, he was absolutely beloved when he was here, and he was beloved when he moved on. He was that sort of guy, O.J. Brigance, and that is an awfully long battle with ALS, 19 years.
I mean, I've never heard of
diagnosed in his mid-30s.
I've never heard of a battle that long. So
with this disease, yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
So it sounds like the Raptors are going to get Kawhi Leonard after all.
They did nothing wrong, the Clippers.
So ESPN reported earlier in the week that the NBA has no evidence that Steve Ballmer, the Clippers owner, funneled money to Kawhi Leonard via sponsors. So you'll remember this was under investigation. The Raptors made a trade with the Clippers to bring Kawhi Leonard back. Then the deal was effectively put in purgatory as the NBA said, well, we're still investigating. Now the reporting is it's going to be fine, I guess.
It was so tough to stuff these genies back in the bottle because, like, the Raptors involved in the trade were already in Los Angeles. Like, what are we doing here?
These two teams are playing an exhibition game at Rogers Arena. We still don't know. Grady Dick, Kawhi Leonard.
Which side?
Who will they be playing for? It's like a mystery.
It's incredible, honestly. The NBA.
Wow. The other thing here is, it is very rare for leagues to punish owners.
Yes.
They don't mind punishing players, but punishing one of their own with all the politics and leaning on and backroom deals that are made amongst those extremely wealthy elites who run sports leagues, they don't like to throw one of their own under the bus. You pretty much have to be Robert Kraft insufferable to be thrown under the bus.
Because I've been in Portland so much this summer. Have you seen some of the drama around the Trailblazers?
Yes,
and
I
Tom
sure
Dundon?
have.
Oh, my goodness. He is persona non grata in that town. Even the owner of the Timbers is throwing some veiled shade at Dundon.
Yeah, talking about the Portland cannot lose the Trailblazers. I mean, it certainly looks like the Dundon is positioning the team for a relocation. Maybe up the I-5. Golf. No Canadian, sadly, made it to the BMW Championship, the second round of the PGA Tour playoffs for the top 50. Abbotsford's Nick Taylor made a mini run last weekend, but he needed a really big Sunday. He was coming from so far back. Rookie Sudarshan Yalamaraju was actually highest rated Canadian going into the playoffs.
Top 10 going into the weekend.
Yeah, and then he absolutely blew up on Saturday when many guys were going low, so that knocked him out of contention. Corey Connors, he's consistent, but he just doesn't make a lot of putts, and he needed to be a lot better than he was. So no Canadians in play at Bellerive in St. Louis, where they're holding the BMW, old iconic American golf course.
Are we like just give it to Scotty at this point?
I think so. I mean,
8-shot win on last weekend.
He picked up 9 strokes on the greens, as Rory McIlroy said. Like, if he does that every weekend, we're all left. Was Rory's quote.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, Rory even said, there's 2 weeks left, but Scotty Scheffler.
Did you hear Rory's comments on
He's
Liv?
going to be the player of the year again.
Did you hear Rory's comments on Liv?
Yeah, Rory's been very strong on Liv. Liv has canceled its season-ending event, so it's going to wrap up this weekend, unscheduled. The CEO of Liv did some media yesterday where he talked about being a player-owned tour going forward. They are trying to raise money to keep it afloat. There are also rumors about John Rahm and his pathway back to the PGA Tour.
That's what Rory was asked to comment on, was do some of the players there bring a lot of value back to the PGA Tour? And Rory's comment back was, did they bring much value to Liv? I think the PGA Tour is in a good position here. He basically wants these players to come with tail between legs back to the PGA Tour, and he's probably going to get that.
Yep, I think he will. Rahm took a lot of money and went grudgingly too, right? Like all his comments were that basically he couldn't say no to the money.
And he stewarded his career.
Yeah.
None of these guys coming back from Liv can play.
But here's the thing. As distasteful as Bryson DeChambeau and John Rahm might be to the PGA Tour, its leader, Brian Rolap, and Rory and the players, golf fans want to see Bryson DeChambeau and John Rahm.
Yeah.
These are gigantic talents. Both of them are two-time major winners, right? And while they may not have their competitive edges sharpened right now, would it surprise anybody if Bryson DeChambeau, John Rahm, a couple of years down the road were lifting a Claire jug or a Wanamaker trophy or everything like that? No, because they are immense talents. And they're fun, and people want to see them play golf. Rahm has the added bonus of basically bringing a country's viewership with him in Spain, not to mention having that touchstone with Spanish speakers the world over. And you know how the PGA Tour is trying to get bigger in Mexico and South America. So,
although I'll say this, though, man.
As much as you want to be angry at them, I would hope the pathway back is... comes quickly, because I would like to see them back playing on tour against the best in the world.
Rahm and DeChambeau, I could see them finding their game again. I think Brooks Koepka and Cam Smith might be permanently toast.
Yeah.
They may have been irreparably killed their game.
Koepka talked about it. He said he was embarrassed at how he played this year on the PGA Tour.
And he once had that dominant glow on him. I thought he was going to be Scotty Scheffler dominant.
It's never really meant as much to Koepka as it does to the others. Koepka's been quite honest about this. He plays golf because he's really good at it, not necessarily because he loves it. He's talked about how he'd prefer to be a hockey player, a baseball player, than a golfer.
But a little failure might be good for him.
Yeah. And in Cam Smith's case, I mean, at his height, you could say he was the best putter in the world. So I think there's still an outside chance that he gets back. We'll see. And the CPKC Canadian Open goes this weekend from Royal Mayfair in Edmonton, where Brooke Henderson, there she is, if you're on a visual platform, is the defending champion. She has won our National Open twice.
Playing well right now, too.
Yes, she is. Vancouver's Anna Wang and Leah John also competing this week. And like the men's open, they have a hockey shtick activation, the rink, at a par 3 hole there at Royal Mayfair, where players are encouraged to wear a hockey jersey as they hit their tee shot. And there's our friend Leah John, LPGA rookie. She's wearing a Macklin Celebrini jersey. And, of course, we had her on the show in December when she qualified for the tour. And Leah grew up with the 4 Celebrini children. Aiden, of course, the Canucks draft pick. Macklin, Charlie, the sister, who's a high-level tennis player, and little RJ, we've talked about him. Even plays golf with Macklin when they're together here in Vancouver. So good on Leah for representing. Should the Canucks sign a late summer unrestricted free agent? Yes or no? It was our Nation Gear poll question on Monday. What did the people say, Blake?
People said yes. I didn't see any sneak peeks of this one, but
people said no.
Really? Okay.
But it was close. It was 54% no. And it's funny because the people said no, but there were lots of comments, and they were almost all yes.
Yeah.
Huggy Bear, Tarasenko Bunting would be easy to flip at the deadline.
Yeah, that's the theory.
This was the conversation in the comments. Yeah. 1-year deals, flip them at the deadline, get more draft picks.
And again, if they have decent years, it's also helping to develop the players on those lines that are Canuck long-term pieces, right? So that was the other theory.
Jason says Tolvanen on a show us deal. Yep, absolutely. GB says, you got to ask yourself, are we ready for our young prospects to make the impact, or do they need more seasoning? If yes, we just signed them for short 1-year deals with the trade deadline for more assets. We still want to give prospects a shot to make the team. Those who are free agents may not have a choice if they want to extend their careers. PTO is the better offer to make now. I hear this as well. It's a good shout. You tell me, Blake. Like
the only person ready to graduate to the Canucks this year is Lekramaki, though. At least on the offensive side of things. On the defensive side of things, you're wondering about Kudratsev maybe and maybe who's our Italian friend from the Rangers in that trade?
Oh, Mancini.
So those two on defense, but really, like the guys that you wanted to see graduate kind of did last year in the Carlsons of the world, and so prospects.
Well, I don't want to put words in this.
Like Coots isn't making the team.
Well, Coots is the guy I was thinking of, Blake.
Yeah. But he's got a great spot carved out for him in Abbotsford as a teenager. I think it's perfect for him. And I'm not saying he's not going to get games. I would suspect that Coots gets 15 to 20 games this year. But of course, he goes up and down with impunity. So it's just so perfect for him there.
Errors and omissions. We fixed the one on the Northwest League standings and how the second half works. So I have nothing further on that.
The only one.
All right.
Yep.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. Appreciate you spending some time and connecting with the program. Please do subscribe to all our assorted channels, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Follow on social. That's X, Insta, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Blue Sky. We are live on many of those platforms, noon Pacific time, weekdays. We will not have a show tomorrow, but we will be releasing an episode on Saturday. We're experimenting, and we've heard your mouths. Many of you, we need more episodes. There's no more sports talk radio in Vancouver. We need more episodes. So we are endeavoring, like we did a couple of weeks ago.
More of a magazine episode.
Yeah, there you go.
Coming on the weekend.
And, of course, please do support the community sponsors you hear us talking about. Keep it local.